Our next guest will be visiting us via the screen, which is going to be raising here in just a moment. We'll be hearing from Dr. Gregory Stanton. Now, Dr. Stanton has been a supporter of this convention for a number of years, and we are sad that he wasn't able to join us this evening, but I am pleased to introduce him as a participant nonetheless. Dr. Gregory H. Stanton is the president of Genocide Watch. It can be found at genocidewatch.net. He is the research professor in genocide studies and prevention at George Mason University in Fairfax County, Virginia, and he is best known for his work in the area of genocide studies. He is the founder and president of Genocide Watch, the founder and director of the Cambodian Genocide Project, and the founder and chair of the International Campaign to End Genocide. From 2007 to 2009, he was the president of the International Association of Genocide Scholars. And after just a moment, we're going to be setting up this screen, and Dr. Stanton will be joining us at that time. Your patience, please.
President of Genocide Watch. I'm located at George Mason University in Arlington, Virginia. I have spoken to your group before, in person, in years past, and I'm sorry that I can't be with you in person this year. My wife is having an operation in a few days, and I think it's more important probably that you be able to view this by video and that I be here with her, but I hope you'll understand. I want to speak to you especially this year because this is a very important year for the history and the future of the Rohingya people and for all Burmese Muslims. It's also a very important year for other groups in Myanmar because for the first time a UN independent commission has declared that genocide has been committed against the Rohingya and against other groups as well. The Kachin, the Shan, the Karen, and other groups have been the victims of major crimes against humanity committed now for many years against them by the Myanmar regime. We hoped that when Aung San Suu Kyi was freed from house arrest and became the chief counselor for the Myanmar government, that there would be a major change in policy and in human rights in Myanmar. Unfortunately, that has not happened. Instead, and perhaps it was because she was in prison for so long by the generals, she has become a spokesperson for the generals. She has become a PR person for the Myanmar regime. She actively is denying that the genocide has occurred. She is even blaming the victims themselves. She is saying that the genocide was a response to attacks by the Rohingya on a few police stations. We know that is a lie. The planning for this genocide, in fact the genocide itself, began long before those small attacks on police stations that happened in August last year. In fact, in 2012 there were major massacres of the Rohingya and there were Buddhist mobs in Arakan State who were hunting down Rohingya and killing them. And in that year, in fact, a whole section of the town of Sitwe was set aside for Rohingya, and they were herded into it, and it became a major concentration camp. But in August of 2017, the Myanmar army finally came in, carrying out a plan that they had planned for many months beforehand, had moved the troops into position long before those attacks on police stations and so forth. They had armed, they were ready, and what they did is they burned 424 at least villages to the ground. They murdered at least 10,000 Rohingya people. They slaughtered people in their huts by burning the huts down with people inside. They slit people's throats. They smashed babies' heads against trees. They raped women. I mean, this was classic genocide. There is no doubt now that is what it was. The UN has said it has happened, and that indeed that a number of generals should be prosecuted by the International Criminal Court for these crimes. They've also said that other people should also be prosecuted, and they gave a list of 21 people to the UN, and we know many more people participated in these massacres. That is one of the things that Genocide Watch has been saying for many years about genocide. And we did put the top leaders of the Khmer Rouge on trial. It took us 25 years, but we did it. And I promise you that these people in Myanmar who think they are immune from prosecution will eventually be in the dock. I want to talk to you a little bit about genocide and why we knew it was coming and why you can see the early warning signs when it is coming. We knew it was coming as soon as we saw that the Rohingya had been deprived of their citizenship, because the very first step in genocide is classification. When you classify an entire people outside of the citizenship of their nation, you take away their rights. They no longer have the rights of ordinary citizens in the nation. So you take away their rights to vote, to hold office, to be in government, to receive an education, and all of these other rights. Of course, what we know is that the Universal Declaration of Rights, of Human Rights, applies to all people, whether or not they're citizens of a country. So their rights to education and to health care and to due process of law and to not fear murder, all those rights still apply. And those are the rights that were taken away right from the beginning with the Rohingya. But we saw that the Myanmar regime's 1982 citizenship law, which stripped Rohingya of their citizenship, made the next steps quite possible. The second step in genocide is always symbolization, in which you literally refuse to call people by their proper name, for instance, in which the Rohingya were called Bengali, in which, for instance, the very word Rohingya was a forbidden word, in which Aung San Suu Kyi herself urged the American ambassador never to use the word Rohingya. That sort of symbolization is very important in genocide. If you can classify people and then symbolize them outside of the national identity of a country, you are on the second stage of genocide. The third stage, which is discrimination, also began very early. Healthcare rights were taken away. Nobody could even get treated in most of the public healthcare clinics who was Rohingya. There were no rights to education. The right to vote was stripped. Nobody could vote who was Rohingya. And this is, by the way, an interesting fact, because right at the beginning of Burmese history, right after independence, the Rohingya could vote. An acknowledgement that they are, in fact, citizens of Myanmar today. They have been, in fact, part of Myanmar's history for hundreds of years. We have colonial records that prove that. I mean, records that go back into the 1700s. What we know now is that it is a lie that they're not citizens. It is a lie that Rohingya are not part of the Myanmar nation. But what we now know also is that the campaign, the dehumanization campaign against the Rohingya, calling them animals, calling them all kinds of names that took away their humanity, was part of the strategy that eventually now has resulted in genocide. The next stage of genocide is organization, and we saw the Burmese army and the Arakan militias well organized to carry out this genocide and this system of persecution. The stage after the stage of organization is always polarization. And we saw the ultimate polarization when the Arakan and the Burmese army drove over 700,000 Rohingya over the border into Bangladesh. And those people are now still living in refugee camps there in Bangladesh. The stage after the process of polarization, and these are not, by the way, linear stages, you'll always find that preparation is an evident part of genocide, because genocide is an intentional crime. The Burmese generals have been planning this genocide for years before it happened. They moved the troops into place. They put the arms in their hands. They had the plans well formulated before there were any attacks on police stations in August of last year. The basic problem that we have right now is that after this preparation, this persecution, and this genocide, we have now reached the stage of denial. All through the genocide, and this is characteristic of all genocides, the generals and Aung San Suu Kyi denied that it was happening. And they're continuing to deny that it is happened. They continue to say that somehow this didn't happen, and that in fact it's all propaganda against the Myanmar government. We know that is a lie. They are trying to prosecute and put in prison people who tell the truth. We just saw that when two Reuters reporters, Burmese, who went and documented a mass shooting of Rohingya people, of Rohingya men, in a village in the Arakan state, documented, took pictures, and wrote articles about it. They have been prosecuted and now sentenced to 7 years in prison. The Burmese government, the Myanmar government, cooked up this case by summoning these people into a meeting, handing them a rolled up wad of papers, which they didn't even have time to look at, and then immediately arresting them. And this wad of papers they're now claiming contained state secrets. Well, of course, that's not true. They weren't state secrets in the first place. But even if they were, the point is, this is entrapment. This is a cooked up case. This is a false case against these journalists, convicting them for simply doing what journalists are supposed to do, namely report the news. The Myanmar government can't stand the truth. And the truth is, the Myanmar government has committed genocide against its own people, against the Rohingya people. The wages of genocide are death. And in this case, the people who need to be prosecuted for this crime, these generals, and the other people who participated in this genocide, may think that they're immune from prosecution, but we will show them that they're wrong. Because someday, they will be prosecuted. Someday, this government will fall. And someday, we will put them on trial. But I'm arguing right now that this trial of these people, even if it may not be possible right away, is not enough. Because the first need of these people who fled into Bangladesh is they need food, they need a lot more supplies, they need a lot of help by the world community. So I'm calling for an international donors conference to greatly increase the amount of that aid that's going to these people. Secondly, I'm calling for a resettlement program that would, with protection, allow these people to go back to their homes in Myanmar, to where they came from. If that program cannot be put together because it China or by some other supporter of the Myanmar government, then that kind of protection program should be passed by ASEAN. And ASEAN should make sure that it happens by its pressure on the Myanmar government. Even that may not be possible. In that case, what we have to make sure of is that the Rohingya people have been driven out of their home and out of their place where they have grown up, be resettled in countries that will welcome them. Of those countries, Malaysia, Indonesia come immediately to mind, places where they could continue their normal lives. A lot of Rohingya, of course, are fishermen. These countries have big seacoasts, and that would be possible there. They also have room for them. But I would argue here that the important thing is that Malaysia, Indonesia, and other countries that are willing to resettle these people who've been driven out must be supported by the rest of the world. The financial support and all of the other kinds of support necessary for the resettlement of these people, including transport, safe transport, needs to be provided by all the nations of the world. Because these are crimes not just against the Rohingya and against the other minority groups in Myanmar. These are crimes against humanity. They're crimes against all of us. All of us bear the burden of supporting those who would support the Rohingya. So I hope that this will call us to the need for all of us to mobilize, especially those of us who are lucky enough to be here in the richest country in the world, to respond to the needs of these Rohingya people, the brave people, the people who lived in these homes for their whole lives, the people who've now been the victims of genocide. And I hope it will call us all to work all of our lives to end genocide against the Rohingya and against all other peoples of the world. Thank you.
Special thanks to Dr. Gregory Stanton for communicating that message to us. This is Myanmar's Ongoing Genocide Convention 2018, presented by the Burmese American Muslims Association. In one moment, we'll continue with our speakers.